Look up at the Las Vegas skyline and you can't miss it. A massive glowing sphere that's taken over the east side of the Strip. The MSG Sphere is the most talked about thing to happen to Vegas in years. But here's the question nobody's asking. Is it actually worth it? This thing cost over $2 billion to build. More than $1 billion over budget. It's bleeding money every quarter. And ticket prices are so high that people are wondering if they got ripped off. So today, we're breaking down the Sphere. The insane cost overruns. The financial losses. Whether the experience lives up to the hype. And the biggest question, can this thing ever be profitable? First, let's talk about what the Sphere actually is. This isn't just another concert venue. When Madison Square Garden Company announced this project back in 2018, they promised something revolutionary. The Sphere stands 366 feet tall and 516 feet wide. The exterior is covered with 580,000 square feet of LED displays, the largest LED screen in the world. Inside, there's a 16K resolution wraparound screen, revolutionary spatial audio with beamforming technology, and seats that physically move and release sense to match what's happening on screen. This was supposed to be the future of entertainment, a venue so technologically advanced that it would change how we experience concerts and films forever. So what was this supposed to cost? When MSG first announced the project in 2018, they estimated $1.2 billion. Industry experts immediately said that was too low, with the general contractor putting the real cost at $1.7 billion. Then COVID hit. Construction shut down for 5 months. When they restarted, everything had changed. Supply chain issues, labor shortages, inflation. The complexity of building something that had never been built before. By May 2021, the cost jumped to $1.83 billion. By November 2022, it hit $2.18 billion. And the final number? $2.3 billion, nearly double the original estimate. To put that in perspective, T-Mobile Arena, which seats about the same number of people, cost $350 million. The new A's baseball stadium is estimated at $1.5 billion. Allegiant Stadium, which holds 65,000 people, cost $1.9 billion. The Sphere seats 17,600 people and cost more than a football stadium. Think about that. So what made this so expensive? The technology. Those speakers alone cost $170,000 each, and the venue is packed with them. The 16K LED screen wrapping around the interior is unlike anything that's ever been built. The Exosphere, that exterior LED display, had to be custom engineered. Then there were the construction challenges. They had to excavate 110,000 cubic yards of dirt and caliche. They brought in the world's fourth largest crane from Belgium, which required 120 tractor trailers just to transport it to Las Vegas. It took 18 days just to assemble the crane. And remember, this all happened during COVID. Shutting down construction and then restarting it cost tens of millions. Material costs skyrocketed. Labor costs went through the roof. MSG Entertainment also had to sell off assets to keep funding the project. They sold their majority stake in Tao Group for about $300 million just to keep the money flowing. The Sphere opened in September 2023 with U2's residency. Finally, after all that money spent, they could start making it back. Right? Wrong. In its first full quarter of operation, the Sphere lost $193.9 million on revenue of $167.8 million. For the full fiscal year 2024, the Sphere posted operating losses of over $500 million. CEO Jim Dolan called it making the first pancake, basically saying they were still figuring things out. The latest numbers? The Sphere is still losing money. In the most recent quarter, they reported an operating loss of $107.9 million. Better than before, but still deeply in the red. Meanwhile, Sphere Entertainment is carrying $534 million in debt related to the Las Vegas venue. And to make matters worse, their MSG Networks division is on the brink of bankruptcy, which could drag down the whole company. So how does the Sphere actually make money? There are three main revenue streams. First, there's the Sphere experience, the Darren Aronofsky film Postcard from Earth, and now other content like VU2. These showings bring in about 50 to 60% of the revenue. Tickets run 100 to 190, and they do multiple shows per day. Second, concerts and events. U2, Dead & Company, Fish, The Eagles. Major artists doing multi-night residencies. Concert tickets can run 300 to 600 or more. UFC 306 was the highest-grossing single event in the Sphere's first year. Third, advertising on the exosphere. Brands pay $450,000 per day, or $650,000 per week, to display their content on that massive exterior screen. Companies like NFL Sunday Ticket, PlayStation, and Meta have all advertised there. But even with all that revenue, the costs are crushing them. Let's talk about what you actually get for your money, because the reviews are all over the place. For the Sphere experience, that Postcard from Earth film, you're paying $100 to $190 for a 55-minute movie, plus some robot exhibits in the lobby. The film itself is visually stunning. People rave about the technology, the immersive screen, the spatial audio, the physical effects. It's unlike anything else. But here's the problem. It's still just a movie, and not even a particularly compelling one. It's basically a high-end nature documentary with a preachy message about humans destroying Earth. Beautiful footage, but many people walk away feeling like they paid $150 to watch Planet Earth on the world's most expensive TV. Concerts are a different story. People who've seen U2, the Eagles, or Fish at the Sphere say it's transformative. The visual effects synchronized with live music create something genuinely unique. But those tickets can easily run $500 to $800 for decent seats. The consensus seems to be, if you're going to spend money at the Sphere, spend it on a concert, not the movie. The Sphere was supposed to be a global franchise. MSG had plans to build a second Sphere in London near the Olympic Park. That project collapsed. After years of planning and spending millions on development, MSG abandoned the London Sphere in 2024. They took a massive write-off on the project. Why? Local opposition, concerns about light pollution, questions about whether it would actually be profitable. London looked at what was happening in Vegas and said no thanks. However, they did announce a second Sphere for Abu Dhabi. The difference? Abu Dhabi is fully funding the construction themselves. MSG is just licensing the technology and collecting fees. They learned their lesson about spending billions of their own money. So can the Sphere ever make money? That's the multi-billion-dollar question. CEO Jim Dolan says yes. He compares it to making the first pancake. The first one never comes out right, but you learn and improve. He claims that as they reduce operating costs and book more high-revenue events, profitability is achievable. The optimistic view? The Sphere becomes a must-see destination. Books 300-plus days a year with concerts and events. And advertising revenue grows as the exosphere becomes the most valuable ad space in Vegas. With the Abu Dhabi franchise generating licensing fees and other international deals in the works, maybe they spread the costs across multiple venues. The pessimistic view? The novelty wears off. People stop paying $150 to see a nature documentary. Concert ticket prices limit how many shows they can sell out. Operating costs remain astronomical, and they're stuck with a $2.3 billion white elephant that becomes just another Vegas attraction. Financial analysts are skeptical. Morgan Stanley has increased their stake in the company, showing some confidence. But the losses keep piling up, and there's no clear path to profitability yet. Here's something nobody talks about. The Sphere has created a massive problem for itself. How do you compete with the Sphere? You can't. Any artist who does a residency there has set the bar impossibly high. If you're a touring musician, do you really want to follow the Eagles or U2 at the Sphere? Your normal arena show is going to look pathetic by comparison. This could actually work against them. Artists might avoid playing there because they know they'll never be able to replicate that experience anywhere else on tour. And if the Sphere becomes just a handful of big-name residencies per year, that's not enough events to justify the overhead. So what's next for the Sphere? A few things are happening. First, they're working on smaller Sphere concepts, around 5,000 seats instead of 17,600. These could be deployed to more markets without the massive $2+ billion price tag. Second, they're pushing hard on content. The more shows and experiences they create, the more they can justify the infrastructure costs. The Wizard of Oz immersive show is their latest attempt. Third, international expansion through franchising. Let other people pay for construction while MSG collects licensing fees. But here's the reality. This is a long-term bet. Dolan has said they didn't build this company to operate just one building. They need multiple spheres generating revenue to justify all the overhead and content creation costs. The question is whether they can survive long enough to get there. With $500 million in losses per year and MSG Networks on life support, time is not on their side.